call from DTC. Well, you don't get a margin call, right? What you get is a call that says the money that you put into the participant fund that we will use in the event that you go belly up and owe us money is no longer sufficient to cover what we perceive to be the risk associated with the open positions in your account. So if we could get that in the U.S., like then I could really retire. Then I would be done, because the naked shorts will still be naked shorts, and all this stuff will still happen. But if you stop the fails to deliver, then you can naked short for like a day or two, and then you have to get shares to cover that. And you don't just borrow shares from somebody; you actually have to find someone willing to sell them.
Yeah, and I guess this is kind of the mechanism that a lot of the people in the GameStop and other sort of like AMC and the other people shares that people are looking at. This is the thing that they're saying, that eventually, so the story goes, the shorts have to cover. But so this leads us very nicely into the next question I had for you, and is what is the mechanism here, or is there one that will lead them to close their short position? Like, is there historical precedent for the DTCCs saying, hey, you need to sort this out, you can't just continue to fail to deliver forever? Like, how stress tested has this system been? Is there precedent here? Like, do we know what goes on in this situation?
Right. So if all of the fails had to be covered, right? If all the fails had to be covered, so that you had to go out into the marketplace and actually find someone to sell you the shares, not lend them to you, but sell them to you, so you have actual shares. Mm-hmm. Then you get this, then the short squeeze happens, right? But as long as the fails are allowed to roll over and roll over and roll over, so if you're in this very close system of like NYSE listed stock, eligible at NSCC, eligible at DTC, like if you're in a very closed circle, then it's harder to do what's being done, right? Once you get into over-the-counter and then you start going to foreign markets and you go into dark pools, then it's easier and easier to just continue rolling over the fails, right? The fails to deliver, what they call open positions. So is there precedent for, I don't even like to use the phrase, the mother of all short squeezes.
Yeah.
I got into some contest with some people on Twitter the other day for saying that if your only reason for buying GameStop is to profit from the mother of all short squeezes, then how are you different from the naked short sellers who really just want to drive the company to bankruptcy? Neither side is actually making a market for this security. Neither side is actually a market where buyers and sellers come together and agree on prices, and that as the supply rises, the price goes down, and as the demand rises, the price goes up. Like, that's, in order to have a short squeeze, you have to have a market that does that. And as long as that system allows for fails to deliver and for rehypothecation, it's called. It's where I lend a share to you and you lend it to Merrill, and Merrill lends it to Goldman, and Goldman lends it back to me. Like, there's a diagram I did something like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, called the diagram for the nuke. Like, how you can just keep exploding these shares by doing transactions. Of course, it requires collusion among brokers, which I don't know is happening, but if it is, there's certainly a way to do it where they can just keep blowing this up. Is there precedent for closing something like this out? No. I can't think of one example. The examples I know of are, for example, Lehman Brothers in the 2008-2009. All of the other brokers that got into financial trouble were purchased by a bank. So between the Federal Reserve, the Depository Trust Company, they were able to find buyers to sort of bail out, right? And then there was money from the U.S. government, and they all got bailed out. A lot of their stuff got cleaned up. Lehman Brothers, this is just my opinion, Lehman Brothers had so many naked shorts in everything, in mortgage-backed securities, credit default swaps, stocks and bonds, just everything. and everybody knew how bad their accounts were. That's why no one bought them, and they ended up going bankrupt, right? So when they went bankrupt, there were billions of dollars worth of open positions at the Depository Trust Company that took them a decade to close. Does that say
Whoa.
to
A
you?
whole
Oh
like a
yeah.
whole decade.
So
So
does
they
that
they
say
were
to
still
you?
closing this, right, when Donald Trump was president.
9, 8. Yeah. Well, I don't remember. It's
Okay,
all a
but
blur. That was 2016, 28. Yeah, pretty much. Because 2008, they went bankrupt in 08. And they blamed, of course, the naked shorts for, driving them into bankruptcy. But yeah, yeah, because Trump came in 2016, so that's only 8 years later. They were still cleaning it up. So does that say to you, though, back to your question, does that say to you, oh, yes, we have a mechanism in place that has been stress tested and works to close these open positions?